All right, guys. So, shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. I mean, you see it every day. What are you gonna do about it? You already know, like I know. There's another mass shooting today. I didn't wait to see how many people were killed, but what I saw was that 3 adults were killed and three 12 and under children were killed, right? And the shooter was female this time, right? And so, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this right now. I think we talked about it in another video a couple days ago about the state of America, that America has these silent weapons. They have these secret weapons that they're using against their population, right? So we talked about MK Ultra, and I want to go kind of really deeper into MK Ultra because people don't know that this is what is the problem. People are saying now that, oh, it's gun violence. We got to get rid of the guns. Oh, no, it's not gun violence. We need more guns. If there were more guns in school, there would be less likely that people that would be doing this. More guns, less guns, more guns, less guns, right? This is a Republican-Democrat argument except with guns, right? So neither of those is the answer, right? Less guns, then you become a authoritarian society. More guns, then you become a warfare society, right? We've seen what more guns does to a population. You know, Afghanistan is run by warlords. We see what less guns do to a civilization. Look at, Australia. They don't have any power. The Australians were locked down forever. There's nothing you can do, right? So what the problem is not the gun debate, but it's being used to address the gun debate because they want to take guns away from Americans. Of course, Americans would be easier to conquer if not everybody had a gun rack in the back of their pickup, right? So we know that they want to destroy America because they know America's Babylon and they can bring it in with, bring the whole order in, on the back of Babylon, right? So this has just been a plan of theirs for a long time. So when you see things happening in America, like train derailing and spilling chemicals into the earth and poisoning an entire town, and you see it happen 5 times in the new year, in this new year, then you're like, what is going on? What is happening? Another train derailment or a chemical leak in the Philadelphia area, and now people in Philadelphia are buying water. No, you're under attack. You're under attack inside your own country by the people who rule this country because they are taking you captive. And the ship is sinking and on fire, and they kind of want you to go down with it, right? Not kind of, do want you to go down with it. They absolutely do want you to go down with it. So you got to get on out because you don't know the extent of the technology that they're using against you. I don't know the extent of the technology that they're using against you, us, right? You can only see what's going to happen, or it happens after it happens. So how do you prepare for what you don't know exists, right? You don't even know that they have this technology out there to brainwash people and send them into a school with a machine gun. You don't know that they have that technology. They do, right? And so we were talking about the abduction case with Barney and Betty Hill, however you want to say it. That I didn't really go into it as far as I wanted to because I don't know, I guess I got, sidetracked. But so the story there is that you have a man at the center of this, right? Barney Hill, who is a skeptic, who is just a regular guy, a non-believer. In his life somewhere, he meets this woman, right? And the woman is part of the play. So here's the scenario, right? Whenever you've seen Catch Me If You Can, or what is it, Now You See Me? Whenever you see these, CIA, FBI, secret government, psychological operations, they are done like a magic trick. They're done like, a film, like you're shooting a movie. So what happens is that everybody knows about the situation except for the mark. You've got a mark, right? And so they're willing to go a long way in the government to really put out this psychological warfare, propaganda, space, aliens, and all that, in order for you to accept this devil that's coming, right? In order for you to accept this anti-Messiah that's coming, right? So they've got this Hebrew guy, and they send the white woman along to him. He falls for her. Next thing you know, 2 years later, he's in some strange scenario where he's getting, quote unquote, abducted and experimented on by aliens, right? And this is all weird stuff for you to think that somebody sat down and wrote this in order for it to happen. But that's what happened. There's absolutely no way around it. If you go back and look at the details of the case, Betty and Barney Hill starts to recall more things about what he saw. He saw, alien-looking things, but then he saw humans too, right? He saw weird-looking creatures, but humans too. And then he remembers being led into the woods, almost dragged into the woods under some sort of spell, right? He remembers walking into the woods with a group of people. He even remembers signaling back or looking at his wife who was walking ahead of him. His wife remembers, or under hypnosis, remembers yelling backwards at her husband, "Hey, come on, you're going too slow." What? Come on here. What is she doing yelling backwards, "Come on, why are you going slow"? What is that there for? Unless she's part of the setup, unless she's in on it too, somehow, right? That maybe she... And then here's the thing. Barney Hill dies, right? He dies. Not far after the incident, he dies. And then you have Betty left to run tours and do all of these things. And then she's part of the setup. But the believable person, the one who's not part of the setup, the Mark, dies, right? After he's under hypnosis. You see that he goes into hypnosis. The whole scenario plays out like a hypnotic spell. He's driving along and he hears this beep, beep, beep. And the next thing you know, he's driving along and he hears beep, beep, beep. Except it's 2 hours later. That's the hypnotic spell. That's a spell. That's a hypnotic spell. The sync word, and you have to understand that this is all known technology. So they know how it works. They know the ins and outs of it, what they can do, what they can't do. It's a word. It's a sync word. The movie Get Out, right, does this same thing. It's this strange witchcraft. But in Get Out, the sync word wasn't a word. It was her. You remember the movie Get Out, right, with the black man and the white woman, similar to this abduction experience? So in Get Out, the sync sound wasn't a beep, beep, beep. It was the spoon in the cup. When she was twirling that spoon in the cup, she's using that sound to sync the hypnosis, right? And so you have to understand how this technology works. It's like Pavlov's dog, right? So you give the dog, you ring the bell, ding, 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 ding. And then every time the bell rings, you give the dog a snack. Then you ring the bell, ding, 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 ding. Subconsciously, the dog starts salivating because he knows that snack is coming. Similarly, your subconscious brain reacts in the same way, but in a much deeper trance, to where that when you're there, you can perform activities, you can be, and you're also extremely suggestible in that subconscious state. You do the research on MK Ultra. All this is there, right? So you're suggestible, like you're pliable in that state, right? And so you go into that sync state, you get told something or get told to do something, you internalize it or do it, and then you come out of that sync state when they start either ringing the bell, boop, boop, or tinkling that doggone teacup, right? You come out and you're like, what the heck happened? Oh, you was out for a little while. And you don't have any idea that this image has been put into your subconscious for them to put you into another hypnotic trance and bring it back up and activate it, right? Or to sink you down with that bell for you to go do something. Bing, bing, bing. Next thing you know, you're driving off the road, going down, you're led by some scientists, experimented on in the woods, not by aliens, but by this team. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, brother? But by this team of agents, and they doing all kind of stuff to you. Then they let you go, and you're like, what the heck happened, right? And here's your wife talking about must be aliens, right? So this is the technology that they have. They have this technology. So now, fast forward 40 years. How much more precise, how much more, technologically advanced has that technology become? Specifically. Okay, and then if you were a renegade faction that actually runs the government, that's also a cult, because we know all this stuff exists. You don't have to, go far to see that all this exists. This renegade faction of the government controls the government and is also a satanic cult. What would you do with that type of technology? And you hated the entire population. What would you do? Well, you'd brainwash people, send them into school, shoot up the whole school. That's what you would do. You'd brainwash people you'll get these 20% of the population that are easily suggestible, easily being able to put into a hypnotic trance, because it's about 20% of the population that can be put into a hypnotic trance. You find them, and then you send them in there. You send them as these soldiers to shoot people up whenever you feel like it. Whenever you got an agenda that you want to push, right? A button here, a button there. And you send these psychos off and they're not even real psychos. They're soldiers. You don't understand that you're being attacked by a soldier. You're being attacked by a soldier in America, in school, in your child. You're being attacked by soldiers, right? No matter how old they are, no matter what they look like, no matter what race they are, they're programmed to kill, right? And they'll give you some sort of excuse about their background, about their parents, about their pill habit or whatever. It doesn't matter, because that's not what it is. It's this technology that you don't know exists, that you wouldn't believe exists if you saw a movie about it, and you have. You've seen a dozen movies about it. You've even seen a Columbo episode on it. They had a Columbo episode on MK Ultra back in the 70s. I've seen it. It's there. They brainwash a woman into jumping off of a balcony to her own death. And Columbo figures it out because he knows this guy is a hypnotist. That's what the doggone show is about. And this is Steven Spielberg, who produces Columbo. Right? So you guys don't even know what's going on, what's out there waiting on you. Because if you did, if you knew how dangerous it was in America and what kind of weapons that they have up their sleeve that they're just waiting to sick on the population, then you'd get out. Then you'd know, man, this is not the place where I want to be. This is not it. Right? You need to do some research on a man named Russ Dizdar. Russ Dizdar. Remember that name. And look him up. If they don't have him on YouTube anymore, find him somewhere, because he's dead now. He's passed away. And what he was talking about 20 years ago, and had been talking about for 20 years, is happening, right? 30 years, because he looked into this stuff back in the 80s. What he said is there is a whole subculture of Satanists that are programming people to kill. He said this back in the 80s. He said, you need to watch what's happening, because what you're going to have is these sleeper cell Satanists that are activated, remotely activated even, that'll just go in places and start wars and kill people, and you won't even know what happened. That they're remotely activated satanic soldiers. He made his career on it. He was an ex-LA police officer that in the 80s discovered this huge underground satanic cult that was programming people to kill, right? He said that's the basis behind every serial killer in the United States. There's no serial killers. There's no lone wolf Jeffrey Dahmers or Ted Bundys. No, there's fronts for satanic cults. And that the problem with the reason why America's so ultra-violent, more violent than any other country in the world, is because we have this big, huge, active, secret satanic cult that's doing all of these secret things to us and has the government backing, and we don't know about it. That's why. And this is Russ Dizdar coming from the LA Police Department, coming not from conspiracy websites and doggone books, but from first-hand experience with these, whatever they are. And he said there's 1 million of them. He said there's 1 million that can be activated at any time. He said you need to watch in the future for random acts of violence with no motive. With no motive or flimsy motive. He said you need to watch for it because in the future, it'll overwhelm you. He said this back in the 90s. He said it back in the 90s. Russ Dizdar, look it up. It's there. So this is not new and it's not news. But you do need to internalize it and know that this is not what it looks like. This is not some random crazy person going into a school and saying, oh, woe is me, let me take out as many people as I can. No, this was a government operation. And it's happening all over the country. All the time. And they can, any city, any state, anywhere, anytime. And use it for any purpose. Watch what it's used for. Right? Watch what it's used for. You even got to model a profile of the active shooter, right? Active shooter, long gun. No, all of that is false. Every single mass shooting event back to Columbine, tie back to the government. Go look at what Columbine actually was. There was a satanic cult, the trench coat mafia, satanic Nazi cult that orchestrated the entire thing. They had SWAT team in on the operation. You go back and you do the research on it. You have 200 witnesses. You have 60 children that say, listen, there were other shooters than just the two. We saw people coming in from the roof. Yeah, they had SWAT team kill some of the kids from the roof. You kidding? You kidding? Yes, that's how they had smoke grenades, military industrial smoke grenades. It was an operation. You had fatigue dressed men running behind the school, fleeing the school after the shooting. That the police have on radio. 2 suspects leaving. They caught them. They put them in the back of the car, in the back of the police car, and let them go. Because all the cops knew, some of the cops knew about the operation. You see what I mean? This is not a game. And if your children are in public school every day, they are targets. They are targets. Why in the world would you send your children to public school when they're doing this in public school? When this is what they're doing? And it's not the other kids, it's your government. And check this out. When the kids are there in public school, you can't get them out if you just want them. You got to go in, sign out. If they're in there and you want them out, Uvalde tells you you can't have them. They're in there at your discretion and you can't get them out. They're in there and they are meat. They're waiting to be taken out. The cops, so in Uvalde, the shooting that happened last year, Texas Uvalde shooting, killed all the kids. They're surrounded. The police are surrounding the school, making sure parents don't get their kids out. That's what they were doing. They were making sure you don't get your kids out. Do you see what I mean? You're giving your children up, sending them to a public school. You got to get them out. You've got to get them out, right? If you don't get them out of the country, get them out of public school for sure. For sure. You're just going to let this happen over and over again? Oh, nothing's wrong. No, change your lifestyle. If you're married, one of you stay at home. Get them out. If you're not married, figure it out. But get them out. You think that the education system that they're giving you in America is worth dying for? They're talking about taking all racial anything out of the educational system. They don't even talk about no slavery, no nothing. So you ain't got no chance of being educated. You ain't got no chance of being educated at school. And you're going to risk your children's life for it? And then they teaching them all this sex ed with the homosexual sex education. They're teaching the children homosexual sex education and then killing them in school. You're going to take your kids to do that and risk their life for sex, for gay sex ed? That's what school is right now. That's what they're teaching. And you're going to risk your children's life for that? Oh no. What in the world? You got to step back. You got to step out of it and say, yo, America, whether I believe any of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes or not, on its face, it's dangerous and crazy. Underneath the surface is 100 times worse. Shalom, y'all.